Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Office Hours with the Professor. I'm your host, William the Professor Collis, and today on Office Hours, we're going to do something a little bit different. What is that different thing, you might ask? Well, we're going to give a low grade to a news story. Yes, that's right. I've heard quite a lot of feedback that the Professor is apparently a very lenient grader. You know, giving out A's, A pluses, an A plus, I think, with extra credit. That ends today. Today, we are curbing the grade inflation because we have a D plus news story. And what is that news story, you might ask? It's ALDI France's decision to launch an amateur esports team called Continuity. Now, before I go into why this is a D plus news story, I want to have a major caveat. This D plus is not at all a referendum on amateur esports. I am hugely supportive of that scene. I think it has massive potential. I think amateur esports needs more investment and more support. So this has nothing to do with how I feel about amateur esports. This has everything to do, however, with how I feel about such a weak sauce commitment from ALDI into the esports space. So let's be very clear about what they are doing in this announcement. ALDI is committing to host a series of Rocket League tournaments. I think it's about 4 tournaments and then a finals. They're going to use those to pick a couple winners to form an amateur Rocket League team called Continuity, and they're going to support them through the end of the calendar year, or 2022. So basically, ALDI is hiring or giving support to 4 amateur esports athletes through the end of the year. That's it. Wow. This story really frustrates me. We are past this as an industry in esports. To think that, for example, look at this in the context of traditional sports. Would it be news if Whole Foods sponsored 4 amateur baseball players for 6 months? No, it wouldn't even rate. It wouldn't even be a corporate initiative. So the fact that ALDI is positioning this for PR and, sort of views this as a step forward in the space for them, particularly when they've worked with large and established brands like Team Vitality in the past. It feels like a big step backwards. These initiatives supporting amateur esports, I could see something like this working if it were at a larger scale and with a more sustained commitment. Say, multiple games, a commitment to really fund for several years, real tangible examples of support, right? But this really feels like, at best, dipping a toe in the water for ALDI. And we are past that in esports today. There's too much going on in the space, and too many brands are engaged in such active and multi-channel ways for an amateur esports team with about 6 months of support to move the needle. And that's what I'd like viewers of this episode to take away, is it's time to stop. It's time for brands to stop doing limited, small-scale test activations in esports. Those really won't do anything anymore, and I guarantee you ALDI will be disappointed by the results of this partnership. Through no fault of the amateur esports athletes alone, they're just asking to get something that the space likely has moved beyond. I give this story a D+. I think amateur esports is amazing, but I would like to see much more robust support from it, not something limited in scale like this. And I would certainly like to see more from ALDI France, when there really are lots of incredible potentials and activations for esports growth that the supermarket chain could be promoting. And instead, they're leading with something like this. So the Professor is not happy this week, but thank you for joining me in Office Hours anyway. And I look forward to seeing you in our next video. Thanks again.